Hey out there, this is Matt Reddy, and I just want to talk to you about communication.
Has anyone made contact?
Sir, I'm sorry, could you specify?
Has there been any, to your knowledge, any communication with a non-human life form?
So the term communication is a bit of a trick word because there's verbal communication like we're having now. The problem is you also have nonverbal communication. And so I would say definitively yes, but from a nonverbal meaning, when a Russian reconnaissance aircraft comes into U.S. airspace, we scramble two F-22s, and we are certainly communicating intent and capability. I think the same goes with this. We have these things that are being observed over controlled U.S. airspace. And they're not really doing a good job hiding themselves. They're making it pretty obvious they have the ability to even interfere with our nuclear equities and our nuclear readiness.
So, is it a bird? Is it a plane? No. It's dozens of alleged drones spotted across New Jersey and Pennsylvania, and it's stoking a lot of fear among the officials and the residents there. The unexplained phenomenon had a lot of people just kind of scratching their heads at first, but now the rise in sightings is starting to spike concerns.
And I get it, right? Agencies cannot confirm what these videos show, but dozens of New Jersey residents have recorded unidentified aircrafts flying through the sky since mid-November, including Mayor Sam Morris of Mine Hill, New Jersey. He's one of several people to capture all of this on video, and he's also part of a coalition of 19 Morris County mayors and elected officials who are now demanding answers and action from federal officials.
Mayor Sam Morris of Mine Hill, New Jersey joins us now. All right, Mayor, just a short bit ago, John Kirby did give an update on these sightings during the White House press briefing. Let's listen together and get your thoughts.
We have no evidence at this time that the reported drone sightings pose a national security or a public safety threat, or have a foreign nexus. We have not been able to, and neither have state or local law enforcement authorities, corroborate any of the reported visual sightings. To the contrary, upon review of available imagery, it appears that many of the reported sightings are actually manned aircraft that are being operated lawfully.
Manned aircraft being operated lawfully. All right, Mayor, do you believe him?
So what that means, he's saying that we're all seeing small planes, right? That's my take on that.
Yes.
I have to tell you that's incredulous. I'm incredulous about that. That is ridiculous. I would invite Mr. Kirby to Mine Hill. Come on out, Mr. Kirby, and let's go on out one night about 9:30, 10 o'clock. I'll go out behind my town hall, and you can count on with me all night. I have a report that over here in Randolph, New Jersey, off Canfield Avenue, that over the valley, which is the town of Roxbury, I have a credible reference over there, a resident over there who told me there's anywhere from 30 to 40 a night, and every night they're in the same place doing the same things. So I have to say, Mr. Kirby, that's a lot of nonsense.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm kind of skeptical. Just given the videos, and you're taking them, you're there. So tell me, first couple things first, do they move like planes, or drones move differently than planes? We got to feel for that. And second, Connecticut Senator Richard Blumenthal says the government should shoot one down. What do you think of that?
I'm starting to lean that way myself. I can tell you, and neither of you are old enough to remember the game Pong, but when we were kids, Pong came out, and it's the ball goes back and forth and back and forth. This is the same thing. That you look up in the sky and you see them, and some of them are just hovering and sitting. Sorry, that's not a manned small airplane. It's not a Cessna. And they go, in that video that you have of mine, over the east part of Mine Hill in the town of Dover, New Jersey, there's one drone sitting still, and it's pretty bright, and the others are going back north and south in an exact pattern. You can tell that they have GPS points programmed into them because they don't deviate. They go back and forth over the same thing. For him to say, when he says we don't have information that these are credible threats or various things, it's because we have no information. So if you have no information, you certainly can say whatever you want about what's being presented to you. That's really insulting to all the people here who are living through this.
Well, you are definitely not insulting us because Terry and I both played Pong growing up. Our parents couldn't afford a Pong. I had to go to the neighbor's house to play Pong. But I get the point that you're making because it's a very slow back and forth of one ball to the paddle and to the other paddle. Anyway.
Very methodical.
Has there been any, to your knowledge, any communication with a non-human life form?
So the term communication is a bit of a trick word because there's verbal communication like we're having now. The problem is you also have nonverbal communication. And so I would say definitively yes, but from a nonverbal meaning, when a Russian reconnaissance aircraft comes into U.S. airspace, we scramble two F-22s, and we are certainly communicating intent and capability. I think the same goes with this. We have these things that are being observed over controlled U.S. airspace. And they're not really doing a good job hiding themselves. They're making it pretty obvious they have the ability to even interfere with our nuclear equities and our nuclear readiness.
You were just inside. You walked out. Why?
I walked out because it was worthless. It was the biggest amateur hour presentation I've ever seen about anything, okay? It was ridiculous. There were no answers. Every question that was asked by a member of the state legislature, great questions, no answers, no resolution. They don't know where the drones are coming from. They don't know who's doing it. They don't know why they're doing it, but they say there's no credible threat. It was annoying to be there. I drove 2 hours to be here today, spent an hour in there. I got to drive 2 hours back. The biggest waste of 5 hours in my entire life.
So why do you think they called this meeting?
No idea. Why would you call a meeting to tell people you don't know anything? I have no idea. And then when the legislators would ask questions, there were no answers. Here's the most frustrating part. The colonel of state police said that he had a helicopter of his flying over above one of these drones, a 6-foot drone or something. I can't remember exactly what he said. And he felt unsafe for his helicopter, so he just let it go. Just let it go. Where'd it go? Who knows? Didn't want to follow it because he didn't feel safe. Is that not the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard? I mean, honestly.
Do they have any idea where these drones are originating?
No, they don't. They would. Maybe if they followed that sucker when it landed, they would know. But they don't. This is a complete lack of effort, in my opinion, on trying to figure this out. This is not about ability. We have the technology, we have the people, we have the training, we have the resources, we have the money. It's just a lack of effort. I mean,
Why?
I don't know. They should be saying, you know what they should have done today with productive use of our time if they didn't know anything? Come in there and say, hey, legislators, we don't know anything, but if you get us these 10 things, do these 10 things for us, and the governor calls in this kind of action, we can figure it out. Will you help us? And then we would have helped him. But instead, it was just excuse after excuse, and we know nothing. It was infuriating, and I got up and I walked out.
You've been in the service, right?
Yeah, I was in a tech helicopter pilot, Apache helicopter pilot in the Army, and I helped stand up the initial unmanned aircraft training battalion in the aviation sector of the Army. So I know a little bit about what I'm talking about, and these guys are not doing the job they need to do to figure out what's going on, and that is the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, and the state police.
Hello and welcome to what's going to be a very special two-part episode of Reality Check investigating these quite extraordinary so-called drone sightings all across New Jersey. In fact, it's not just across New Jersey, it's across the entire continental United States, across the United Kingdom at certain military bases, and indeed, if what I'm hearing from multiple people from all over the world is right, Russia, China, New Zealand, Australia, this is a worldwide phenomenon.
So the term communication is a bit of a trick word because there's verbal communication like we're having now. The problem is you also have nonverbal communication. And so I would say definitively yes, but from a nonverbal meaning, I think the same goes with this. We have these things that are being observed over controlled U.S. airspace, and they're not really doing a good job hiding themselves. They're making it pretty obvious they have the ability to even interfere with our nuclear equities and our nuclear readiness.
Something that the authorities choose to call drones, I'm more often going to call them objects, are causing mischief across the planet. I prefer to call this perhaps a series called The Drone Debacle, or could we perhaps call it the Defense Department's dithering failure to disclose what the hell is really going on with so-called drones over sensitive airspace and packed civilian areas. We're now at a point where we really do need to know what the hell is going on. If this wasn't a national security crisis before, it sure as hell is now. Okay, I now want to bring in my friend and colleague Marek von Rennenkamp, who's a correspondent for The Hill. Marek's been monitoring the ongoing Department of Homeland Security hearing, which was ostentatiously entitled and somewhat optimistically entitled, Safeguarding the Homeland from Unmanned Aerial Systems, which has just completed, or we're actually just coming up to the end of that hearing. Marek, what happened in the hearing? Has there been, I hope, explosions as members of Congress seek answers and try and get some explanations for what these weird objects are?
Well, Russ, first of all, thanks so much for having me back on. And I'll start off by, this is a truly bizarre story and series of events. Bottom line from my read of that hearing is that the FBI is utterly clueless about what is occurring over the skies of New Jersey and into New York. There's one gentleman there from the Bureau, Mr. Wheeler, who's the assistant director of their critical incident response group. Literally, just had nothing to add. They say, hey, yes, we're tracking, we're monitoring, but they have no clue. He looked a little hesitant, frankly. He was measured, but any government official is going to be quite awkward when they can't explain something such as this. And I'll just quickly add, in the post 9/11 world, I find it shocking. It's egregious. It's astounding that this is happening. And it's been going on for a month now. We just learned today that the first sightings were confirmed on November 13th over Picatinny Arsenal, which is a military research facility that goes back even a few days earlier than that we did previously. This is a
trick word because there's verbal communication like we're having now. The problem is you also have nonverbal communication. And so I would say definitively yes, but from a nonverbal meaning, when a Russian reconnaissance aircraft comes into U.S. airspace, we scramble 2 F-22s, and we are certainly communicating intent and capability.
Astounding that nobody has any answers.
Actually, it's earlier than that, isn't it, Marek? I mean, as you know, we've been reporting on Reality Check the weird so-called drone sightings over Langley Air Force Base. I think you've reported on that as well. And there's also Eglin Air Force Base and multiple other bases all across the continental United States that have been seeing anomalous objects, which the Air Force particularly and the Department of Defense and intelligence community have been calling drones. This is a historical problem, isn't it?
Very much so. Not only does it go back several years, it goes back decades. And, I've been looking at some very fascinating old government records that I can just think of one series of incidents that Dalen Hynek actually wrote about in his book, The UFO Experience. And there are some really astounding government documents that outline exactly what we're seeing. Unknown objects with blinking red, green, white lights hovering, moving up and down rapidly over nuclear missile silos in Colorado, Wyoming, and Nebraska. And oh, by the way, that exact same pattern and series of events occurred in late 2019 and 2020, where hundreds of people were seeing these objects.
1952 was one of the biggest years of UFO sightings in U.S. history. The culmination of that year was incredible sightings over the weekend of July 19th, 20th, and 26th, 27th.
Washington International was picking up UFO returns. People were reporting sightings of strange lights in the sky.
You've got these reports of these objects flying over the nation's capital.
A week later, the situation essentially repeats itself.
The press, having gone through this thing the week before, were better prepared, and they were down at the Washington International Airport asking what these things were that were being picked up by radar. We were getting the target returns on the ground about 2 or 3 in the morning.
There been any, to your knowledge, any communication with a non-human life form?
So the term communication is a bit of a trick word because there's verbal communication like we're having now. The problem is you also have nonverbal communication. And
In the skies above the east, reports of mysterious drones.
Look, guys, there's one there, one there, one there.
Turning into thousands of posts going viral online.
Coming in one after one.
With people from coast to coast now spending a lot more time looking up than pointing their cameras into the night.
This is bizarre. There's more over there, look.
Some could be optical illusions, planes that seem closer than they are.
You can hear that one. That is definitely a plane.
But others have defied normal explanation.
What the f?
Car-sized drones operating for hours in restricted airspace and able to elude local law enforcement when they send their own drones up to give chase. In New Jersey, the Army reporting the Picatinny Arsenal has had 11 unauthorized drone incursions in the last month.
Look what's back again. Same spot as last night.
21 local mayors now demanding answers from the state.
The minute you get eyes on them, they go dark. This is something we're taking deadly seriously.
The entire month before that, it was nightly drone incursions over Langley Air Force Base.
Let's just start with current events.
Today, a congressional hearing on Capitol Hill on the national security threat drones pose.
What is going on in New Jersey?
We're investigating, but I don't have an answer of who's responsible for that, of one or more people that are responsible for those drone flights.
But for those who see them on a nightly basis...
Not a plane. That is a drone in the airspace.
The drones are a very real reminder.
Almost hear a little bit of a hum.
That our airspace...
It's a very little thermal signature.
...is not as secure as we might hope.
Has there been any, to your knowledge, any communication with a non-human life form?
So the term communication is a bit of a trick word because there's verbal communication like we're having now. The problem is you also have nonverbal communication. And so I would say definitively yes, but from a nonverbal meaning, we have these things that are being observed over controlled U.S. airspace, and they're not really doing a good job hiding themselves. They're making it pretty obvious they have the ability to even interfere with our nuclear equities and our nuclear readiness.
The congressman asked Lou Elizondo on November 13th, 2024, has there been any, to your knowledge, and communication with a non-human life form? Lou Elizondo replied, there's verbal communication like we're having now, but the problem is you also have non-verbal communication. And so I would say definitively yes, but from a non-verbal, these things that are being observed over controlled us airspace, and they're not really doing a good job hiding themselves. They're making it pretty obvious. Over the next month, every night, strange flying objects have been seen over New Jersey. They fly around, they hover for hours and hours. The FBI says they have no idea what they are. Whoever is flying these objects is communicating. They are saying we can fly over anywhere, anytime. We can hover forever. You won't see us if we don't want you to. You will see us if we want you to. You can't stop us. You can't catch us. We're here. There's different kinds of communication. They're here. Now what? Join the revolution for peace and harmony. Soldiers, put down your weapons. We don't know who is who. We don't know who is in charge. But we know someone is here who can do whatever they want. Perhaps they want to be our friends. Now,
They held the largest press conference since the end of the Second World War, run by the head of Air Force Intelligence, General Samford.
I'm here to discuss the so-called flying saucers.
We have no evidence at this time that the reported drone sightings pose a national security or a public safety threat, or have a foreign nexus. We have not been able to, and neither have state or local law enforcement authorities, corroborate any of the reported visual sightings.
I'm here to discuss the so-called flying saucers.